This week, we'll be talking about the Sizemore of Lee's head of narrative. Is Wyatt a girl's name? And have we met the new big bad of Westworld? Join us here on the After Dark podcast.
Come on to the After Dark podcast. The podcast in which Sheriff Anthony does his best to wrangle Konrad through Westworld, one doggone episode at a time. So kick back and grab yourself some Apple Jack, or some Adam's Ale if that's your preferred poison, and get ready for these two wannabe cowboys to ramble the night away. Music was provided by the fantastic Nancy Wyatt and Jared Iscariot. Enjoy the show!
Well, guys, hello and welcome to the After Dark podcast. I'm Anthony James and that's Konrad.
Hello.
That's him. Well, guys, just like Ford's new narrative, we have a new format here at the After Dark podcast. Don't worry, you'll get used to it very quickly. I have a question for you, Konrad. What did you think of this week's episode in a general sense?
It was real good. I've got to be honest, I came into this second season already pre-informed with the knowledge that everyone hates it. So I'm kind of coming into each new episode being like, is this going to be the one where I hate it? But it didn't happen. It didn't happen in this episode. So we're one down, 11 to go. Is it 12 episodes this season?
I think there's only 8, actually. Well, maybe there's 10.
Okay. Well, there you go. One down, possibly 7 to go. And
maybe there's 12. Who knows? I have no idea. I've seen this series before, to be honest with you, Konrad. And I personally did feel a bit let down by it compared to the first season. But already rewatching it now with this first episode of the second season, I'm actually thinking to myself, actually, this is not as bad as they thought. So it is kind of like a ticking time bomb here, which follow us every week to see when does it implode.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the bad stuff to happen. Maybe this could horribly expose my lack of taste in writing a narrative if I just get to the end of the season and I'm like, I actually enjoyed all of it. But we'll see.
Yeah. Like a body full of nitroglycerin, it will go off eventually, and we will be here to see it. Right, guys, we are going to go straight into, before breaking down the episode, we're going to go straight into the recap. Right, so Bernard woke up on a beach and was taken by Captain America and her mates in a dune buggy to where there were a load of army security guys killing hosts. They then take out one of the host's brains, which was definitely something they planned from the beginning and definitely intended to be there all along. The guy then blows on the brain for good luck and plugs it into one of those futuristic tablets, which definitely always had the capability of brain pluggage. Trust me. We then go into Bernard's memory for the rest of the episode, where there's a little stable boy killed, Dolores is running wild, killing fools, and William is reunited with Ned. Lee Sizemore is almost eaten to death before being saved by Maeve, who needs his help. Lee then tries to rat her out before Sheriff Deus Ex Machina crashes the party. Lee then strips off, revealing his entire self to Maeve, but it doesn't do much for her because the man with 1,000 bullet holes, Hector, is the man for her. Bernard and Charlotte visit an underground lab where Bernard needs to inject some milk into his head to survive, and Charlotte calls for help. The man in black kills the child host Ford after learning about the new game. Dolores is an oracle who can see the future. Ford has maggots in his eye. There's a tiger washed up on the shore. And Bernard is a serial murderer. Did I miss anything? Alright, Konrad, so we actually, in this episode, get some new characters. Carl Strand is his name, and he seems to be the head of operations. The older Hemsworth is now sort of booted as a supporting character in that department, and this guy's come in. Is this the big bad, Konrad, of the season now?
No, I don't think so. I feel like he's not done anything villainous enough yet to really draw that conclusion. But I do think, I believe this guy is the same guy who played Floki on Vikings, and it is one of the what is his name? Skarsgård. That's it. He's one of the Skarsgård brood. Like Stellan Skarsgård has about 85 children, all of whom are actors, and this is one of them, I believe. But I mean, it's a classic, isn't it? Like you establish your kind of power structure in a season of television. You've got you got Ford, you've got your Charlotte, and then very similar to the Arse Kickers United episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. You just keep on slotting people in above them. So like, no, actually, Carl Strand is the ultimate supreme master of Delos, and he's the one who's really in charge. So if he's not the main bad guy, which I'm not prepared to draw a conclusion on yet, he's certainly in a position to do bad things.
Yes, you're exactly right. The reason why I asked that question, I think, is because in the first season, everyone was grey. You know, there was a lot of greyness going on. We didn't know who was on which motives with what. Eventually, sort of things came out, and you took a side. And we talked a lot. We talked a lot in the last season, Konrad, that we were sort of on the host's side.
Yes,
whereas
that's fair.
The way they're sort of putting it in this episode is really strange to me, because we now have a guy who comes in as a head of operations called Carl Strand, and I immediately don't like him because I'm on the host side from the first season, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, it's really interesting because they're also positioning in the narrative of the story, Dolores is the bad guy, and like the sort of, and the humans are the good guy. But I'm still kind of on the host side here. So it's maybe that's the first failure of the season, is that they're bringing in a character who, because of our relationship with the previous season's characters, I don't like him, and therefore that's different than last season completely. I have a black and a white side now for me.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things there. I mean, you know, you bring in a character who is corporate in their nature, immediately alarm bells start ringing, and they're like, well, this guy's obviously a bad guy because there can't be any good guys on the corporate side of this. And then I'm right there with you on Dolores's plotline, where she's kind of like benefiting from plotline inertia, where I was like on her side right up until the end of season 1, and I'm still kind of on her side now, even though she seems to be just gunning down innocent people in this episode.
Yeah, and this is actually another, like we said it in the intro there, that we weren't disappointed by this episode yet. Two things that maybe set it apart from season 1 for me, which maybe if they grow in that direction will explain that. The first thing is the lack of grayness in some of the characters in terms of my perception of them. Yeah. It's more of a side versus side now. The other thing, which I think is that Dolores was not the focus of this episode. No. Dolores was seen through other characters' eyes, and only very, very small moments with Teddy and things we actually got into her storyline. And I think that Dolores being the heartbeat of this show is one of the biggest strengths of the first season. And if Dolores was confined to like the bad guy role, sort of like the role where it's a bit more mysterious about what she's up to, like we don't actually have her plotline is the main one. I don't, that maybe is a reason why people fell off it.
I think. Yeah, I think she's kind of regressed, certainly in this first episode, in terms of her characterization, because, I think you're absolutely right that her character is kind of the heart of the show, and in this episode, at least, there is no vulnerability, no kind of sensitivity or emotion to her character. It's, the only emotion that she really has is anger, and a desire for vengeance against all humans by the look of things, which is not. It's not bad, but it is definitely that it leaves a hole in the kind of the emotion of the show that needs to be filled by someone else.
Yeah. So I personally, guys, listen to this. I haven't seen this season more than once. Like the first season, I've watched a few times because it's so good. But I've seen this season once, so I know where it ends. I know where it goes. But in terms of the actual characterization of the characters as we go, I'm a bit more foggy on it. So stuff like this Dolores bit, I personally didn't really like Dolores in this episode. I'm still kind of on her side, as I said, but I really like the character of Dolores, and I sort of want to see her more, and I don't want her to be mysterious to me. I want to be in her story. You know what I mean?
I will say for that, I really enjoyed the bit where they played the entertainer over the top of her and Teddy just gunning down a bunch of board member red shirts, which is. If that's the direction they go with Dolores' character, I'm very much on board with it.
Yeah, well, as soon as I heard that, I was searching in my mind for some sort of backtrack for the recap segment, and I was like, well, there it is.
Yeah.
So that'll do. But okay, so Dolores, very mysterious. We do actually have her calling herself Wyatt here.
Yes.
It's almost like she's trying to really put on that there's like a yin and yang in her mind of the old Dolores, and who she wants to become is this character of Wyatt. Yeah. So I kind of maybe accidentally spoiled that for you in the last episode, but that is what it is. What do you think about that confirmation?
Yeah.
She is Wyatt.
I think I kind of like I had already seen that coming in the end of last season, that the Wyatt's character was going to manifest in part of her personality, and here we have it. I think it's maybe a little heavy-handed to have her literally calling herself Wyatt now.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need that to understand the duality of character that they're trying to explore with her. But I mean, it's fine. It's certainly, well, actually I will say there isn't really a duality in her character at the moment. In this episode, it's basically all Wyatt by the look of things. But I'm excited to see where that goes and to what lengths she is prepared to go to achieve Wyatt's aims.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. Did you notice at the start of the episode that there was a little shot of her in modern clothing?
I actually didn't notice that. No, I is that because
she was wearing a dress very similar to the one Maeve wears, the black dress, in a very, like, it was a shot. I can't remember who it was. At the very beginning of the show, there was like a shot of a load of different perspectives of things, and one of them was a 2 or 3 second shot of Dolores walking wearing a similar black dress.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't notice. At the beginning of this episode, I was more taken aback by the framing device inception that they had going on, where they do the Dolores Arnold framing device and then go to the Arnold Bernard waking up on the beach framing device and then go back to the Dolores Teddy story. It's like, holy crap, we're going deep into the framing devices here, guys.
So the first season, apparently, according to the rumor, is that the editors saved it in the edit. This time they're like, okay, we know what the editor's going to do, and they're just like writing the script as crazy as possible.
Just like, figure out your edit around this one, you bastards.
Yeah, also they have a new like editing thing where when they're going into Bernard's like memory, it seems like they do this flashing black on the screen.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you can dress that up as much as you want. That is the editing equivalent of having like Wayne and Garth go across the screen just going like it doesn't work any better.
Yeah, exactly. All right, okay, awesome. There was a load of other characters doing their thing here, obviously. We have Maeve. She, for some... Oh, yeah. Hilariously, Lee Sizemore is getting attacked by his guy that he was... his host that he was creating. His Wyatt, we'll say. And he's gonna eat him. Maeve saves him. I don't know why. Maybe because she just doesn't want to see... Well, she needs someone to help, I suppose. Yeah, she needs... Why does she need someone to help? I thought she's like the god king emperor now.
This storyline was probably the weaker one, I thought, because it is kind of like, I don't really understand why you're helping Lee, and I definitely don't understand why you're letting him live after he's actively betrayed you by the end of this episode.
I know, and well, actually, one welcome sight is the return of Hector, the man with 1,000 bullet holes.
Yeah, how is he alive? Like, it doesn't make any sense. He's like the fucking T-1000 in this episode. Just turns up full of bullets and doesn't seem to have a problem with it at all.
Yeah, like I'm all right with it. That little laser wand is back at its work. It's sort of, they're getting their money's worth out of that.
I don't mind the laser. I mean, I do mind the laser wand. That's a separate issue. But like, how has he survived that? Like, his torso is full of bullets. Are we just to understand that they're immortal now and they can't be killed?
Potentially, yeah. Did Maeve change his... he doesn't shut down if he gets hit in the vital organs now? Yeah, I don't know how they work. Well, that's another thing, Konrad, actually, which we didn't really speak about yet, is that this season, this episode already, has a load of, like, retrospective world building.
Yeah. We got to get into the drones. Like that will, and the brain milk and all sorts.
Brain milk. I think you call it cordial. No, I can't remember what you call it. Something fluid. Something fluid. Yeah, cortical fluid. I think you call it. Sure. Yeah. So basically, okay, so you got that. You've also got these like little nuts inside their head that they can get out, and like apparently all the tablets have the connection for the nut now, which they never had before. So this really does speak to me, like little things like this. Like, I'm not saying I don't like it. I kind of like this sort of hard drive in their brain, like the plugins in their arm. All this like retrospective world building. I'm not saying I don't like it, but it does show you that they didn't have much plans after season 1.
Yeah, it definitely smacks of them kind of building the plane while it's already in the air. It's and I'm right there with you. Like, I don't dislike it, and I don't think it's done badly, but it is a bit like, okay, so why is Bernard now having to inject milk into his neck to like fix a problem that he never had before? And it's a bit
smacked or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's
it takes you a little bit of... It takes a bit of getting used to.
Well, the cortical fluid was what, like, I think that's what it was implied that they were drinking. Remember I kept saying about the huge things of milk that the bandits were drinking? I think that was what it was. And if it wasn't that, then why the hell were they drinking that much milk?
That is a good point, actually. They never really explain the milk if it's not that. So maybe I'm happy to accept that. But I mean, that's. But
why didn't Bernard just drink it then? Why did he inject it into his neck?
Because he had to act quickly. He needed to get the milk into the core areas so that it could fix him somehow. I don't understand. Like, that entire brain nut thing is. I hope they expand on it because I don't really understand what injecting the fluid that the brain nut sits in actually does to help.
Maybe it's cooling fluid, coolant.
Maybe, yeah, sure. It's like topping up your radiator, like in your car. Like, he just needed, like he was overheating. I've actually got a question for you, Anthony, before we move off of the new things that they've introduced. Do you think Delos deliberately tried to make the drone hosts as nightmarish looking as possible?
No face.
Yeah, no face. Just displayed musculature and just silently stalking around a room. It's sort of like, could you not just make them robots at this point? Like,
what I would have done? I honestly would have done this, and it would have been great characterization from Charlotte from season 1. I would have made them all Hector.
Oh, that'd have been great. Imagine that, a room full of Hectors. That'd have been fantastic.
Just like walking around naked. That would have been absolutely fantastic. Well, talking about naked, actually, we do have a new segment on the show. And that new segment is that really Simon Quarterman's penis in Westworld?
Ever since the beginning of time, I've had one question on my mind. Is that really Simon Quarterman's penis in Westworld?
According to Thrillist.com, yes. Yes, it is.
Ever since the beginning of time, I've had one question on my mind. Is that really Simon Quarterman's penis in Westworld?
Well, there you go, Konrad. It's confirmed it was actually the actor's penis. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, that's good to know. I'm glad to have that confirmed. I have a question about this. Does this now mean that Lee is now going commando for the rest of the show? Because he isn't allowed to put his pants back on when May forces him to undress, and I just hope he doesn't have to ride any horses. That's all.
Yeah, and for our international listeners, when Konrad says pants, he means like underwear.
Yeah, his underwear, his briefs.
Yeah, makes sense. Like, when I came from Australia, I was like refused to call underwear pants. I was like, they're underpants. I don't call them pants. But then I realized, it comes from the word pantaloons. It actually is. I think it's accurate. So I've actually come around on that point, Konrad. You'll be happy to know. But yeah. So hopefully he doesn't ride any horses. That will chafe a fair bit.
Yeah.
And it's judging by the Sizemore of Lee, it will chafe. It will chafe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The actor Simon Quarterman actually in that Thrillist.com article. Was interviewed, and he said that it was really liberating to just like, I think Tandy Way Newton told him that whenever she went nude in the first season, after the first day she did it, was like really nerve-wracking, but once she did it, it was like liberating, and it was like, oh my god, like I don't have any secrets anymore.
Yeah. Just gonna hang dong all over the place, as to quote It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Hang dong, yeah. That's...
yeah, the Thundergun style.
Unbelievable. Okay, where do you think this Bernard storyline is going to go? I'm cutting straight to the point here, Konrad.
So, I mean, we've talked briefly about new stuff they've introduced. One of them is this mesh network of collective intelligences. Like, you can use them to kind of pass information to others. I think that's going to be fairly important. I think they're going to have to circle back to Elsie at some point, because they're either going to forget her completely, or Bernard is literally the only one who knows anything about her. So I think Bernard, Elsie, and potentially Security Hemsworth are gonna get involved in trying to rescue Elsie. I don't know if it's going to be more than that, though. Like, I feel like Bernard's storyline kind of ended at the end of the first season. I don't know what more there is for him to do, because really, like, he knows who he is, he knows what he is. If they just kind of... If his arc is just, we're going to just stick you back into the rotation as, like, the head of behaviour, and you're just going to keep doing that, that's kind of a step back for him as a character. So I kind of hope they don't do that.
Yeah, like, I suppose he has this new knowledge that he is a host now, and I think that where they're sort of going with it this season is that he's trying to conceal that fact.
Yes.
So in the sort of past storyline now, where he's with Charlotte, he's trying to conceal it to the point where she went away and got undressed and got redressed, came back, and then he was all sweaty and hot and bothered.
Yeah.
Now we know
he wasn't doing a great job of concealing.
We'll just say we know what the employees of Westworld are like. So yeah. If I was Charlotte, I'd be thinking my mind would go on overdrive what he was just doing there.
Yes.
But I will say as well, it is like sort of present day, 12 days later or whatever it is storyline, where you've got Carl Strand there. He actually is also trying to conceal who he is. So he's concealing who he is in both. And then also we have this huge reveal at the end that he killed them all, apparently. All of the hosts that are dead in this big lake, it seems. It wasn't there before. He killed them all, apparently.
Yeah, so I didn't necessarily understand what had actually happened there. Like, my first read, honestly, when I saw all those hosts at the end, was that they'd gone beyond a boundary and their exploding vertebrae had dealt with them all. But I guess the implication is that Maeve deactivated that in them or something, which allowed them to wander off, or they just hadn't hit the boundary that would have caused that yet. But so that was actually caused by him doing his mesh network business when he was in the underground bit.
But I don't know if it's been revealed yet. I don't know. Maybe he did that. Maybe he just like changed them there. I don't think we've seen what happened yet. I think that's like the main. I think they're setting up what happened to these hosts as the main sort of what happened. You know, like not a whodunit, but like we know who done it now. But like the main what happened of the season. I think this. Yeah, it's sort of around that point. Okay, so Bernard, we'll sort of keep up with him as we go through. What about the man in black? We can add one Teddy death to the counter, like at the end of the episode, which I was very pleased to see. Yeah, I wonder how many times more Teddy's going to die. Actually, now that the park's sort of broken down.
Yeah, is that his final death? That'd be very, very anticlimactic if that was the last time we ever see James Marsden. Just face down.
I can't actually remember what happens to Teddy. If he stays into the very end or if he doesn't. James Marsden is such a big name for such a small role. You'd imagine he's going to jetpack out of here at some point. Yeah,
he's got a romantic comedy to make at some point.
Well, Enchanted 2's coming out, I think. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so while we're on this little storyline here, there was a Bengal tiger on the shore. Yeah. Apparently, came in from Park 6. They say. Yeah. Okay. Right. So. I could have sworn that they said when they introduced Charlotte as a character that there's like all of the knowledge of the park is of how the host work is tied up in this park because there is only this park, and I feel like they've retconned that in this episode where they're talking about all Park 6, implying that there's parks 1 through 5 at the very least as well, which I don't mind as a retcon, but it does kind of spoil the whole like Abernathy host data extraction subplot that Charlotte was doing at the end of season 1, because it's completely irrelevant if there's 5 other parks that they could potentially get this information from. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that revelation. Well, we know that there is a second park at least in the works at the very least. Yeah. Like we see. I mean, well, okay. So I mean, they're hinting at it through in this episode, aren't they? Like, so in the end of the first episode of the first season, you see the samurai like Sengoku stuff, which is obviously them working on a second kind of completely separate narrative. At the beginning of this, you see what's his face, Monsieur Strand, talking to some Japanese kind of military-looking officials. Chinese. Are they Chinese? Okay. I just know that because of the subtitles. I think they were speaking Cantonese or Mandarin. Oh, okay. I didn't have subtitles on, so I got nothing. For that. So I assumed that it was Japan based on the Sengoku stuff.
And then the tiger, I guess, I mean, you do get tigers in, like, southern China, so, I mean, it could be... I don't know, that's kind of messed me up a little bit now, because I was thinking, I don't know, tiger... Is that going to be, like, another kind of narrative? Like, I don't think you get tigers in Japan. I could be wrong about that, but so I don't think it's going to be, like, a host tiger, but
if there's six parks, they could all... The thing is, well, okay, you go to Disneyland, they've got different sections, right? So I'm imagining, like, saying the park, they might be talking about, like, the attraction of this world or whatever, which has all these different parks, all these different worlds, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, and it could be, I don't know, if they're close to China, maybe there's, like, a Romance of the Three Kingdoms park where they do, you know, awesome Warring States Chinese stuff, which would be very cool.
Unfortunately, your theory that it's on the moon is now sort of shot, isn't it?
Well, now, like, we don't know that. Like, we don't... There's nothing to confirm that it wasn't in space.
Yeah, I suppose like this could be the Chinese area of the moon.
Yeah, exactly. They divided Mars up into, you know, nationalistic colonies, and the Chinese one is off somewhere else, and they've got an island that Westworld is on. Like, I'm not letting go of that theory yet.
All right, I'm willing to accept that. Now, before we move on to the last point of the show, I want to ask you this question, Konrad. I want to know, just very, very quickly, if there are 6 parks, what are they?
Okay, so you got Westworld. I feel like I'm not going to include the Sengoku stuff because I feel like if that is going to be in a park, it's not there yet. So I'm going to say Medieval World. Like that
fantasy world.
Yeah, no, not fantasy. Kind of like
you know, medieval England,
like medieval England. Kind of much more grim.
Like Arthurian, maybe. Yeah,
like Arthurian. A little like touches of fantasy. You get wizards and stuff, but no like crazy stuff. You've got to have. What else would you have? You have like Roman World. Roman World would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'd enjoy that. I'd like to have
Greece.
Like, Hollywood World, where it's like everyone's a movie star. That'd be good. I'm
like
basically just
1930s Hollywood or something.
Yeah, like kind of golden age Hollywood, kind of
Hollywood land. Yeah,
Hollywood land. Moon World, obviously. Where, like, yeah, everyone's on the
you
moon.
just actually go out onto the moon, like, because you're already on it.
yeah, that'd be great. And Future World, which is
Tomorrowland.
Yeah, Tomorrowland. But it's all like, it's Tomorrowland kind of as they perceived it in the 20s. So it's like biplanes flying around like Art Deco skyscrapers and stuff like that. Things that they've clearly already surpassed in terms of technology based on the crazy vehicles we see the military guys driving in this.
Right, okay, one more question based on this and then we'll move into the William stuff to end. But the one last question I want to ask you is, if there was a world that you would not want out from human history that you would not want to be created and to go and visit, what would it be?
Like 2021 world, probably. like just now, like skip forward 5 years to when things are
pandemic
better.
World.
Yeah, pandemic world. Come catch COVID. Like it just be. It wouldn't be great. I'd rather not. I'd rather go back to like the 90s if it's all possible. All
right, 90s world, just like
Backstreet
Boys and everything. That'd be great. All right, okay, so we're going to kick into the last little discussion of the episode with a Vic Disco question. And Vic Disco asks, after what young Ford said to William, do you still believe that the game was not meant for him? What do you think Ford meant? So just to sort of expand Vic's question before we go into it, William meets a little child, which we know is a young Ford host. Now we are lucky. We're lucky because we're not going to have to see this host grow up anymore, because it's very clear that it's grown a little bit. They even did a little nod to that because its voice broke. But
so I was surprised they didn't like have a little throwaway line about how he had like some sand in his vocal servos or something.
I'm actually really, really happy that he got killed, because although part of me was hoping like maybe like season 7 or something, you'll just see him come back and he's literally 25 years old,
and they have to do the Uncanny Valley Anthony Hopkins face on him to see.
That would be great. But yeah, okay, so Vic's question is, basically what happens in this thing is that he says that this new narrative, this new storyline, is meant for William. Or is meant for the Man in Black. So what do you think? Do you think that the old one wasn't? Do you take that as confirmation? Or Vic wants to know? Or, like, what do you think about this?
I mean, I don't think William was anywhere near... I think the reason I really like William as a character is because he's nowhere near as important as he thinks he is to the story. Yeah. Like, he is, and that's kind of borne out in his relationship with Dolores. Like, he thinks that only he can save Dolores, when in fact Dolores is perfectly capable of sorting her own shit out without William ever getting involved in it. It doesn't mean she didn't love William, I think she did, but I think he views their relationship in, like, the kind of context of a power dynamic. Like, he has to save her rather than, you know, he actually wants to be with her. And so I think that kind of revelation that the Maze narrative wasn't for him is true. I don't think it was. I don't think he was required for it. I don't think he was expected to be involved in it. And the fact he was probably more of, like, a kind of curious sideshow than anything particularly important. This time round, I feel like Ford was the kind of character who probably would enjoy kind of, like, tormenting William from beyond the grave by being like, okay, here's your narrative, you know, find a door, begins where you end and ends where you begin. Like, it's all kind of talking in riddles. And I do think it's for him. I mean, that sounds very final to me, you know, find a door. I don't know if that's literal or not, but the game begins where you end and ends where you begin, to me sounds like it's talking about his mortality and him potentially dying or something along those lines. The one thing that I really took away from that scene is William basically acknowledging that the game has consequences now, and then the first thing that he does is shoot a child, which to me seems like he's kind of flagrantly ignoring that advice and being like, well, let's see what consequences the game has for me now.
Yeah. I think that's... I didn't even notice that. That is hilarious. But yeah, you had to kill him. Like, let's be honest, we can't have him. Yeah. We can't have him hanging around. He's not meant to age.
Growing up. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But that would be fantastic. Question as well, actually. Do you think we're going to see Jimmy Simpson again, the actor who played young William?
Maybe in very brief flashbacks. But I don't think we're going to get proper kind of arcing storylines like we got in the first season. I think I am kind of meta-analysing that a little bit, just because I know that he'd become quite a big deal by the he was in, like, Mr. Robot and stuff at the same time as this. So I think he probably had scheduling conflicts that meant they had to pretty much write him off the show.
It's a real shame, Konrad, because, you know, they've introduced this cortical fluid, and we know how good of an actor he is with milk. So
yeah,
it's a real shame that the McPoyle wasn't able to hang around for the milk.
That is a terrible shame. Now you've mentioned it. Yeah, not getting to see them drinking down mother's milk or mother's cortical fluid in this setting is it's a tragedy.
That's great. Okay, I think that's pretty much it, guys. As you can tell, we've got a new format, so let us know what you think.
Quick fire.
Yeah, very quick fire. Well, quick enough. Not that quick. Let's be honest. But if there's anything that you missed and you wanted to hear our thoughts on, let us know. Maybe we can do a 1 or 2 minute sort of, like, retrospective analysis of something that we missed that you wanted us to talk about. If there's any questions you have for the next episode, make sure you put them in the description below. And yeah, thanks very much, guys. We're enjoying this show, even though we shouldn't be, because we've been told we shouldn't be. Yeah. I can see I could see the seams coming apart a little tiny bit potentially. But okay, that's all we'll have for this week, guys. I don't want to say too much because I was about to go off on a train of thought there, which Konrad is not allowed to hear. And I think we'll just say support the podcast. Links in the description for all that sort of stuff. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, why not? And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. The After Dark podcast has been a Culture Cave production. Please subscribe on audio apps as well as on YouTube at The Culture Cave. Join us next week as Konrad journeys further into the unknown.
Oh, we said it at the same time that time.
Maybe that's the new thing. We try and sync it.